Hello there, my name is Liambughood. I'm a 15-year-old phonograph collector from Pennsylvania, and this is my video series, Phonographs for Dummies, where I'm going to teach you all about the operation, restoration, and maintenance of antique phonograph music players. Today, this video is going to be about the basic vocabulary of all the all the parts on the top works of an Edison Standard Model B cylinder phonograph. The Standard Model B is a very common phonograph model. One of the most, though the Standard as a whole is one of the most common cylinder phonograph models, and was widely produced from 1898 to about 1912. I could be wrong on that, but I'm going to be using this phonograph as an example because it is a very common model, very easy to understand, and a very beginner-friendly machine to start out with. So let's get into that. Alright, let's begin. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the horn of a phonograph. This is what amplifies the sound of when a record is being played. You can see this is a 14-inch brass reproduction horn. It has a skinny little neck at that part, and then it is cone-shaped at the end, and this is to amplify the sound coming out of a neck of this silver part, which is the reproducer. Now, the reproducer is what actually creates the sound in the first place. And I'm not going to go over the mechanics of a reproducer in this video, mainly because it's very complicated, and if I'm going to go into that, then I might as well also go into the rebuild of a reproducer and, how to take them apart, and I'll do that another time. But for now, this is all you need to know. This is the reproducer. There's a thumb screw right here, which goes into this thing. That's the carriage. It's what holds the reproducer, and the thumb screw holds it in place. You can see right there on the part of the reproducer, that little indentation is where the thumb screw goes in to keep it in place. There's a weight that hangs down, this little pin, and the weight is what provides the is what hangs down and makes the stylus contact the grooves of a record, and that's the stylus. But that's really it for now. I'm gonna go into the basics, all the complexities of the reproducer in another video. It's my gem currently working on. So I have parts all over, towels, parts everywhere for my Amarillo 30, all kinds of machines. So excuse the mess, and I'll move the mask. But next, so I said this is the carriage. Right here, this is stopper. This when you pull it out, and when the machine is wound up and is playing, when you pull out the stopper, it engages carriage, and we'll start advancing it along the length of a record to play it, because the way that these cylinder records are made, the grooves are not cut laterally or from side to side. They are cut vertically with a Hill and Dale method. So the grooves in the record is not enough to pull the stylus along. So, if you have a stopper, which when pulled out, engages a half nut on the end. Right there, down there is a half nut. If I could get a better angle, I would show you, but that half nut right there, you can kind of see it, engages with a long screw with a gear on the end back here, which you can see the gear right there. That is the gear, and the screw is called the feed screw, and this has a guard in place, screw in place. I'm not gonna bother disassembling this whole thing just for this, but that's the feed screw, and the feed screw advances that half nut, which is part of a carriage, and the carriage rides along this rail. This, well, not rail, this is the carriage rail, actually, which is actually just a rail. But this is a rod, and this is the carriage rod, which the carriage slides along like that. Oh. And then you can see there's this is a gear cover, just covers the gears, obviously. There's a big gear right there, which goes from the gear at the end of the mandrel shaft, to the gear where the feed screws. And then there's this little tiny gear. Let's see if I can zoom in right in there. You can see that right there. That gear is basically part of part of a shaft that the mandrel has, and the mandrel then has this pulley which engages with the belt. It's a leather belt, and this phonograph has one because it is belt driven. So that the belt is what transfers the energy from the motor up to the mandrel. to turn it. Without that belt, none of this would work up here. And so then we have the actual mandrel. This is what you slide your records onto. And at the end, we have this little pointed bit. I'm not sure why my camera's being weird, but we have this little pointy bit which engages with this bearing at the end gate, and this end gate swings in and out to center of a mandrel, and the gate has the bearing, a screw keeping it down, the knob, and then a little latch. So it's a little latch, and latches onto the front of a carriage rail. Oh god, why is my camera not focusing? I'm so sorry about that. Then underneath the mandrel, we have the ID plate. This shows, patents and stuff. So, last patent date, 1905. My serial number. It's a little dark down there. I don't have a light at the moment, but it's my serial number 565637. So that's basically to identify your model. And then we have the brake. Switch to the left, turns on, right, and it brakes. And then we have the speed control knob. Now, most earlier models have this, but a lot of the later standards don't. They moved it to underneath the bed plate in the case, but mine has the speed control knob. I don't know why it's like this. I haven't seen another machine with a knob like this, so I assume it's not original, but, it's still like one of the models that had a speed control knob that originally stuck out. So that's, I believe that is everything, just kind of on the bed plate itself. So then we have these, which are supposed to be where lid latches would clip on, and many different standard models had different numbers of latches, I believe. I believe there were two clip models and I think 4 clip models, but those were much earlier. This is just a 2 clip model. So the goes in there, you pull that out, goes in there, and then keeps it in place. I don't have a lid to demonstrate, but if you can kind of get the idea. Now finally, we have, just gonna move that, it's the crank handle. And crank, you can, on most of the machines, most of the Edison machines, you can turn it counterclockwise and it unscrews. And that's because these models were mostly, if it's not like in its own cabinet, not a stand-up model, then this crank can unscrew because they're meant to be portable machines. So, this machine can do that, the gem can do that, Amperola 30s can do that, Amperola 50s can do that. So, most models can do that. And obviously, if you turn it clockwise, you can screw it in, and you turn it clockwise until once it's fully screwed in, then you start turning it clockwise, and that is what winds the spring motor. And when I wind it up, I usually just leave a bit just there so it doesn't like fly back and kill the spring. And when these are actually unscrewed, something kind of cool with most of the cylinder machines, a lot of them at least, not a lot of the later machines can do this, but like earlier models like the Home and the Standard, and I believe a few others. I think the Triumph, I'm not sure about the Opera, but a lot of these machines, when you unscrew the crank, you lift up on the case, and it's heavy. This latches into place, and you can see everything underneath. And I'm gonna make another video just talking about what all this is, what this thing is, why it spins, what that thing behind it is, and yeah, don't want to get my fingers near that. But yeah, I'm gonna cover that basically another time. But to do that, you just, my hand is crushed. It's hard to do that with one hand because I usually unclip and then have my other hand here, but I'm holding the camera, so just crush my hand. But that's basically it for kind of like the vocabulary and rundown of what most of this is. And you just thumb screw in, and that's really it. It's very basic machines, easy to understand, and very nice, very reliable, kind of like a work machine. So next video, probably going to talk about the reproducer and show you how to disassemble it and how to rebuild it. But for now, that's that's kind of it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something, and good luck with your phonograph collecting journey. Have a great night, or day, I don't know.